Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. I'm Nadia Jordana, and you are watching It's a Woman's World. We have a special treat for you today. One of our co-hosts, Barbara Valleur, went on a riverboat, paddleboat cruise just recently with her husband Arnie, and she has some exciting things to share with us. Our other co-host, Beverly Crosby, and I will be asking questions and learning about whether or not this kind of cruise might be for us or somebody that we know. Barbara, why don't you take it? No, first of all, I want to ask you, Beverly, if you've ever been on a cruise.
The only cruise I've ever been on is the little paddle boats. They're not so little, they hold about 300 people on the Mississippi River up in Stillwater. And that's it. I've always wanted to go on a cruise, but I've never really quite got to the point of getting those tickets because, I don't know if I could go for 4 days or 7 days. If I went for 7 days, what happens if I just want to get back on land once I'm out there? Where do you go? You're out in the ocean. So I put that one off. It's on my bucket list though, so maybe I will learn. I'm sure I will learn some things today from Barbara's talk about things to do, things to take, what not to take, things to remember, like that. So it'll help prepare me for when I do go. So I'm looking forward to Barbara your trip and your wonderful pictures.
Yeah, it's going to
Well,
be fun. I
uh,
have been on a couple of cruises, and those were both ocean cruises. One was a weekend trip, and one was a 7 day cruise. I did run into some seasickness issues, so I'm interested in learning whether or not that's the case on riverboat cruises. And I remember that there was an awful lot of uh, do your homework ahead of time.
mhm.
Etiquette and things a person needed to know on cruises and things that they did. So I'd love for you, Barbara, to share with us what the differences are and what we need to know.
Well, thank you for the introduction, and I think that you both might be pleasantly surprised about the what happens on a riverboat cruise. It's not quite the same thing as a large ocean-going cruise where you have thousands of people on the boat. The boat that we were on was American Cruise Line. It's called American West, and we went on the Paddleboat River on the Snake and Columbia Rivers between Washington and Oregon. And our trip was 9 days and 8 nights. My husband, who Arnie Bigby, who's was earlier this year was diagnosed with short-term memory loss due to Alzheimer's. So this was a trip that we hadn't gone out of state for 7 years, and we both planned this trip as an exciting adventure. He's still very, very well. You just wouldn't know that he's in the early stages of Alzheimer's. He's very active. So we um, we went first class both ways. That was a real big deal, and that started it off. We were first on the planes and first off the planes, so that was really fun. But I have also been on that paddle boat in Stillwater. I forgot about that. I've been on that at least 3 or 4 times. It's not quite like that because this is a paddle boat where there are cabins for, we had 103 people, passengers on the trip. And what I liked about this trip was that intimacy of a small boat. I think that when you're planning to do a trip like this, there are so many options, not only in the United States, but going down the Rhine in Germany or in Europe. But I wanted to be in the United States, and I wanted to go to a place that I hadn't been to, although I actually lived in Washington and have driven through both of those states. Being on the river is definitely a different view. it's really helpful to start with your planning to decide where you want to go, obviously. But then you want to plan what you want to pack, what you want to take with, so that you have that list that you can add to over a week or 2 or 3 or even 4 weeks. Don't forget the binoculars. That's one thing that I did forget. And that would have been fun to be able to see things on the shore that close up. There were some incredible homes that we passed by, every day that we were sailing, as it were. And also, we just about every other day we stopped for shore excursions. So Beverly, you would like that kind of thing. So and we had a list of shore excursions we could choose from. Most of them were complimentary. Some of them cost a little extra. And there was always a big write-up that you could read about so that you could make a good choice for yourself. We went on the Pendleton experience, for example. I'm actually wearing a Pendleton jacket that my husband bought me. And then we went to a falls exploration one morning, and we went on a city loop in Astoria, Oregon. So every morning, or actually evening, they'd slip a piece of paper with the day's activities. It's quite long, lots of things to do, and you don't have to do all those things at all. But I'd really love to get on with showing the photographs, and if you have questions, Beverly or Nadia, just go ahead and ask them. I'm gonna share my screen right now, and here we go. I have to move that as well so I can actually hit play. So the Snake and Columbia Rivers, this really follows along the Lewis and Clark trail. And I'm gonna move this picture over here if I can. Oh, I guess I can't, never mind. So we were heartily welcomed when we went on board the American Cruise Line, and we flew from Minneapolis to Salt Lake City, and then to Lewiston, Idaho, and then a bus met us and took us over to Washington, where we stayed in a hotel overnight. Excuse me. The morning before we got on the boat, we had a really, really interesting presentation by these two Nez Perce Native Americans. The younger man danced, and the older man gave a historical talk about the presentation, about the history and some of the culture of his people. It was one of the highlights for me of the whole trip. And this was our paddle boat. We were able to walk down a path from the hotel to the boat and get on the boat. And that's people getting on the boat the first time. So as you can see, there's 4 decks. The bottom deck was for entertainment and a restaurant, and also the happy hour place at the back of the boat. And our cabin was on the other side, on the 3rd deck. The top deck obviously contains the captain's house, which you can see with the red roof. And in the back, where the flags are, that's an open area seating. There was a little tiny mini golf thing in the corner. They also had heating if it was cold under the red canopy. So I thought that was great, and I really enjoyed being there. The first 4 days, this was pretty much the colors that we saw. Obviously blue sky and blue water, but it was pretty dry. So yellow and brown, very few trees actually. I took this photograph because of the trees, as well as the blue sky and the yellow fields. But I had this expectation that it would be more colorful. So I think that what that taught me is to keep my expectations just low so that I'm pleasantly surprised about anything that happens. One of our day trips was so much fun, and this was an underground tour that we took, and I'm just blanking on the name of the place now. And I'll come to it, but it was during the Prohibition. So this underground tour was part of the Pendleton experience that we had. We went, it was in Pendleton, Oregon as well. And after that tour, we took our bus took about 15-20 minutes to get to this incredible museum that the design of which was extraordinary, and the inside was also amazing. What I thought was impressive was this particular wall as you walk in. It's a concave room, and the boulders and the water were painted. The net over there, close to all the salmon in the water. I think that the background, it was a photograph of the mountains area. But what I really liked about this is these had names of all the people who helped pay for this incredible museum. And I thought that was really clever, well done and designed. And again, this is one of the shots from being on the river. I like to take something that has a little color in it. So when I saw the orange train, I picked up my phone. By the way, I am an international photojournalist, but this is my phone right here, the newest iPhone 16 Pro. I also like the blue sky and that lonely tree up there. We went through 4 locks in the Columbia River, and our captain maneuvered those with ease, has probably done it a million times. And his first mate was over there to the left, looking on, probably also learning to do the same thing. And that's
What did you think, Barbara, about the locks and everything that they had to go through to go up and down through the locks? What kind of an experience was that?
You know, it is an interesting experience. And I actually forgot the fact that in about 4 years ago, I went, not with my husband, but I went on a week-long vacation in Panama, and we went up the Panama Canal, not the whole canal, but part of it. And we went through several locks. So I had had that experience before. That was just a day trip. It was not, it was a day trip. But it's so fascinating how they, you go through, they lock both doors, and then the water either goes up or the water goes down. It's absolutely seamless. It doesn't take all that long. I think it's fascinating. And just the engineering of it all is, to me, pretty fascinating. And you can stand outside and watch it too. This is coming up to evening. This is Mount Hood in the distance. Food. Oh, let me just show you. Every day we got a little piece of paper on our table in the morning at breakfast, and we could choose one between our appetizers, our entrees, and our desserts. Usually there were 3 choices of each. And the food, the presentation was fabulous, really was fabulous. Wait until you see the next one. That was one of our desserts. I thought that was so creative. And anyway, and on the back, of course, you get the wine list. So yes, we do like our wine. So the only drawback on this particular experience was the food was not hot, and I'm a person who likes my food hot. However, I have to say that the presentation was just so lovely and the people that we were sitting with were so interesting that it really didn't take away that much. It was a point of comment when they ask you for a review at the end of the trip and they want you to be honest. I did mention it would have been nice if the food had been hot. So I thought this was a pretty scene, seeing a railroad bridge and then coming into the mountains. That was the day that we did have rain. We went to falls. I don't think I made a picture of the falls, but it was the only time that it rained. And unfortunately, we weren't informed that it was going to be raining, so none of us brought our raincoats or our umbrellas. But anyway, we saw the beautiful falls. This is as you walk into the cabin, so you can see that we had a deck out there, and how close we were. I mean, the river is wider in some spots than others, of course, as most rivers are, but we weren't ever far from shore. So that's, I think, comforting to know. And you can see how still the water was, Beverly. You wouldn't get seasick on this boat. And that's the other view. And the area to the left was the bathroom with the shower. Very hot shower, surprisingly enough. I was surprised about that. We had entertainment every night, and these two were phenomenal. They were so much fun. The guy at the piano first started out with singing and playing on the guitar, and he played from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and he was really good. He did a mean Jerry Lee Lewis, and he also did a Prince song, and we were all singing along with him. We had a day excursion in this beautiful, beautiful town. It's actually the oldest settlement west of the Rockies, and it's called Astoria, Oregon. You can see up on the top of the hill, there's a column, beautiful column. We didn't go up there, but that was one of the excursions you could do. The column is 125 feet tall, and it has about 200 carvings of Native Americans and about the culture of this beautiful smallish town, about 10,000 people. And we had a hop on, hop off bus ride around the town. And one time we hopped off and went to a beautiful Victorian home built in 1886 by one of the famous people from the early days of Astoria, who made his money on the river. So every other day we were cruising, and every other day we would stop, and sometimes it would be just for a few hours. But it was always just so interesting. This is two couples. They're brothers and their wives. They're from California, and they were so great. They were fun and interesting, and we often sat with them for breakfast at this big round table, lunch or dinner. Not always, but we tended to gravitate to them because they were so interesting and welcoming and nice. And in fact, I got a wonderful card from Bev, who's the woman in yellow, and her husband Steve this past week, saying that our being there made the trip nicer for them too. So I was mutually done. Oh, hey, this is the video. Oh, go ahead.
Would you say, Barbara, that in a group of 100 and some like that, it's maybe even easier than on a larger cruise to make some friends that you might want to keep in touch with?
Yes, I really believe that, because you have a better chance of seeing the same people. On a cruise with 5,000 people, you don't often see the same people unless you meet someone on the first day and arrange to see them the next day or later that day. And we didn't do any of that arranging, but it just happened naturally, because we would go to, for example, happy hour at 5:30. There was always entertainment and some snacks, and pretty much everybody gravitated to that. The other thing is, there were single people on this trip too. Most of the people were seniors. My husband is 81 and I'm 79. Most people were 60s, 70s, I would say. But there were some people in their 40s. I don't think there was anybody younger than 40. But they had events for singles, in terms of entertainment and getting together as well. So, but good question. Thank you. This is that, the gorge. So I'll talk over the wind. This is the second most popular place to windsurf in the world, after Hawaii. And it's in the river gorge. Sometimes the people would just be blown out of the water like 20 feet. It was really something. Anyway, so, and that pretty much sums up the photographs that I've got. I just thought ending with a nice sunset picture would be kind of nice. So so there we are. There we are.
They are absolutely beautiful. I like that you can see land.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
that you get off every so
Mhm.
often and you might tour the town as you did.
Mhm. Yes.
It just you're still committed to the full trip, but it's just a nice variety of things.
Yeah. And we didn't take advantage of all the excursions, not only because we wanted to relax, and we didn't want to be on go 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 go. For example, there was a bus trip to Mount St. Helens. Now, maybe 40 years ago I would have done that, but I wasn't interested in spending 2.5 hours on the bus there, 1 hour on the top of the mountain, and another 2.5 hours on the way back. So we just we got off the boat, we walked around. That's when we did the hop on, hop off in Astoria. And I forgot to mention that everybody wore their lanyards. And then we had these cards got us into everything. We had to show this when we got off the boat and show it when we got back on, so that they knew that they had everybody. It also got us into our room, and all of that. So, but yes, we picked and chose what we wanted to do, and we also wanted to relax.
Yeah. So did you pre-book everything? Did you have to select what you wanted to do ahead of time when you booked the trip? I would imagine so that way they could organize themselves, the people on the other end as well, and prepare for you. But were there many options? Are there many options with these types of trips?
There were a lot of options, and we knew that we wanted to go on a couple of things, and we did sign up for those ahead of time. But you could actually sign up the day before if you changed your mind, even if you wanted to not do what they were talking about. If somebody wasn't feeling well, I don't know the answer to what happens when someone gets sick on a cruise of any kind. But at this point in our lives, I had insurance for that. So if something had happened, we would have been able to get back home and leave if that was necessary. I strongly believe in insurance for that reason.
And
So,
were there you went for 9 days. Were there options to go, say, for 4 days or,
Not on this cruise. The cruise was for what it was.
Okay.
They have I mean, it's a huge company. They have all kinds of different cruises. I initially wanted to go on the Mississippi, but I had spoken with people who had been on the Mississippi this past year, and the river is so low that the boats can't get into where they need to get into to stop for a day or whatever. So that's why we chose the place that we did choose. I'd be interested in doing something on the East Coast. I think that would be fun.
Would you say that I noticed on ocean cruises, And I was in my 40s when I did that, and I had good sea legs. I would not have such good sea legs now. So I'm thinking these riverboat cruises are more stable and
Mhm.
better for our baby boomer style crowd. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
You are absolutely spot on correct. I I do not recall one time feeling like, the boat was going like that. I mean, the river was smooth except for that gorge place where I showed the video. And we were docked, so we came in the evening, and I didn't notice any, like there were no dishes falling on the floor or anything like that. It was quite,
Well,
yeah.
I want to ask another question before we run out of time. It looks like we got about 3 minutes here, not quite. So,
Mhm.
what time of year do you think is the best? You went in September, or I imagine that depends on what part of the country you're going to
Yeah.
as well.
Well, we went in October. The timing of that was just good for us. We have been pretty busy with a lot of medical appointments recently, and October was a slower month, if you will, for our schedule. They have trips though year round, so it depends upon what you're looking for, what you're interested in, and also what kind of weather that you like or don't like. So, yeah.
I have a real quick question also. If someone has, because I'm thinking of an anniversary cruise for my
Mm,
husband and I next year,
mm.
do they do anything special if you let them know there's a special occasion going on?
Oh,
Would
I'm sure that they would. That I didn't witness that at all. Other than one night in the entertainment area, it was somebody's birthday, so everybody sang happy birthday to that person. Whether they got a special piece of cake or ice cream or whatever, I don't know, but um, I think that they would do something like that. That I would think would be a normal thing, and I would highly recommend doing something like that for your anniversary, Nadia. I think you would both enjoy it a lot.
I think so too. And with
Mhm.
that, I think we have just about run out of time. Beverly
Mhm.
Crosby, thank you for being here with me. And thank you all for watching It's a Woman's World.